our love.
Good morning, everybody. You go ahead. You get to start.
Good morning. We're Ryan and Tawny Douglas, and we have 3 terrific kids. Abigail's there, Caleb's back there, and Josh is in the very back. We first and foremost, disclaimer: we're not close to perfect in any way, whether it's marriage or individually. But we're here to share some of our experiences with you. We lead very busy lives, and with 3 kids in sports and in church, trying to come up with a good balance in our life has been probably a continual, not struggle, but challenge. And we're coming obviously from a perspective of a married couple, but we think that some of these principles can transfer to you individually as well. And specifically in marriage, we're kind of the captains of the team. And we take turns being the lead captain, I guess, but we both work together, and then as our kids have gotten older, they've pitched in as well.
And we kind of had talked to our kids when they were a little bit younger about that our household we're all part of the team, and so everybody has to pitch in, otherwise you're not a successful team. So that's what Ryan's talking about, and that in that household, obviously, mom and dad are the co-captains, and there is hierarchy, but that we are all part of a team. So today we're talking about, we actually have, I was going to jump ahead and take your part, sorry. I think it's fair to say there are a lot of pressures in today's world, and no matter what stage of life you're in, whether you don't have kids, whether you have kids, or whether your kids are grown, there is a lot of demands, and I can relate mostly, obviously, to having kids because we have 3 of them. We have a lot of commitments and responsibilities. We've chosen to put our kids in a lot of activities, and I can most relate to the demands of that, even being the parent and feeling that I need to have my kids in certain things. And the pressure of having them be successful academically, athletically, and especially spiritually, but kind of feeling the pressure of trying to get all of those things to fit in can cause a sense of hurry, a lot of sense of hurry. And there's actually issues in hurrying through your life. So you can see on the screen, number 1, it's going to raise your stress levels. As soon as you are constantly just feeling that burden of getting here, getting there, we got to get this done, we got to get this bill paid, whatever it is, you can increase your stress, which is not good for your body at all. The faster you go, the less you enjoy. I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but I know we have many times where we're trying to fit everything in, and we're getting from this place to that, and you actually end up just being like this tornado that just passes by people. So the faster you go, the less you're enjoying or being present. You're trying to do so many things that you're not doing any of them well. So as we talk today, we're going to be talking about how to decide what to do as individuals, as a married couple, as a family, and what tools you use to decide those things, because you can't do it all. There's no way you can do it all. You could put so many things on your plate that you're doing everything a little well, but not a lot well, so you have to be very wise in what you choose to put first in your life. You end up rushing through relationships. It's interesting, David was talking about, we have all of this vision happening for church, and as you're all sitting here, I think you can appreciate the fact that it didn't look like this when the first person arrived at the church this morning. It takes a whole team of people to set up. And at one of the meetings we had, we were talking about the cons to set up, and one of them that we shared was that you feel so rushed that you actually don't end up engaging in relationship. And that's a really important thing as to why we come here on a Sunday morning, is to actually engage in relationship and get to know the people you're sitting with. So when you're in a hurry, relationships suffer. And then most importantly, when you're in a hurry, one of the number 1 things that shouldn't be rushed is your time with God. But if you're in a hurry and you're always rushing, you're not really hearing God. So it's really important to kind of have these in your head of these are the potential risks. So one of my favorite verses in the Bible is "Be still and know that I am God." And I was really thinking about that a lot today. It is, and I looked it up. I don't know if you already put it up. So I looked it up in a different translation from the Message, and what it says is "step out of the traffic." And that really hit me because I was thinking, I can picture being still if I was like on a beach and the waves are rolling in and you're like, it's peaceful and you're like, yeah, God, I got this, I'm still. But that's not really when we're being called to be still. We need to step out of the crazy, step out of the traffic and know that God has got this. God is in control. So that verse is really stands out to me. Step out of the traffic, take a long, loving look at me, your high God, above politics and above everything. So do we actually do that in our lives? Do we actually step out of the traffic? So when it's crazy, are you stepping out to seek God?
And I know for me, I have to schedule that time to do it. If you don't schedule it, you're by the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I haven't read my Bible yet, or haven't spent time with God. So put it in your schedule, put it at the beginning of the day, and it'll help set you up. So we're going to look at 5 different areas to help with balance, and it's the 5 C's of balance. And like I said before, you can apply this to family, marriage, individually. The 5 C's are contentment, commitments, care, calibrate, and choose love.
All right, so I'm going to talk about contentment. So in case you guys weren't aware, none of us are naturally content. It's kind of funny, I'm actually reading off of yours. That's right. But you moved it. Okay, so it is, today we have more opportunity than ever to constantly be comparing ourselves to others. So obviously, when I was younger, we didn't have Instagram, Facebook, all the different, I'm not even going to attempt to list all of the avenues of social media, but really, if I was kind of comparing myself, it was done in person. So I might see someone's shoes that I really like, or they went on this vacation, or oh my goodness, they have the best hair, or they're just whatever it is. I picked all really superficial stuff there. But I'm going to tell you about a speaker I know named Andy Stanley. I don't know if any of you have heard of him. He's a pastor, and I've been following him on Instagram, and he has a series right now called You're Not the Boss of Me. And so he shows like little snippets here and there. And one of them that was posted a few weeks ago was about Instagram. So he was feeling like, oh my goodness, I just cannot keep up. He's like watching all these other pastors with their like fancy sneakers, and then he starts looking at, because there's a thing, I don't know if you guys have heard about that, I can't remember what it's called, but they all have like, none of you look like you know at all what I'm talking about. It's a thing. I'm telling you, it's a thing. Okay, so, and then also he was talking about how like cute all the family photos are, and that they post, and he's like, if I want to keep up, I'd have to like, all the pictures that he would have had of his family were on film. He's like, I'd have to take pictures of the pictures to post it. So he's like, that's it. I'm done with Instagram. It's just like too much comparing. It's a burden in my life. I don't need it. So he's like, that lasted about 60 seconds. And then he's like, okay, you know what? I'm not a quitter. I've got this. I'm going to go on Instagram and I'm going to make all of your lives look more lame than mine. And I'm going to show you up. And I'm going to rise to the occasion and just, you know, in everyone's face. My life is awesome. You're going to get the best snapshot of everything. And he's like, oh no, really, I'm not going to do that. But he's like, I stopped to think that what Instagram can do for you, that was just what he was using as his social media example, is it can stop you in your tracks. It can be, however often you go on there, a constant reminder that you shouldn't be comparing. No, there is no win in comparison. So in not being content in where you are, it can just completely rattle the balance in your life. And you can be stuck constantly just seeking more. It can be your drive for ambition. So our motives for doing more can come from guilt, jealousy, fear, ego. But the most common is this insecurity that we all have. We all have this like major need to belong. A longing to belong. So we start to create this self-talk about, if I do this, then more people will like me. If I achieve this goal, or if I buy this, more people will like me. And so it's not we're seeking their own thing. We're incontent with what we have. So the trap in comparison is a lack of being content. We have to change what we're thinking, and we have to find our worth in God. And God actually doesn't demand anything of you. He doesn't have a checklist and isn't sitting there being like, they taught Sunday school last week, or read your Bible today, or anything like that. God loves you just the way you are. You don't have to do anything, no matter how horrible of a person you might think you are. You already have God's love. So we need to start being content with that and stop comparing ourselves with others. The scripture that I have is Philippians, and in this, it's Paul. He actually was in prison at the time, and he was he was reaching out to the church of Philippi, I guess it would be, and saying, like, you've kind of forgotten me. So if I jump to, I'll just read it. So I am not saying this because I am in need. He's talking to the church. I'm not calling out to you because I'm needy. For whatever circumstances I am in, I have learned to be content. I know what it is to live with humble means, and I know what it is to live in prosperity. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of life, or the secret of contentment, both to be filled and to go hungry, to have abundance and to suffer. And the secret is, he can do all things, or you can do all things through Messiah who strengthens you. So we already identified that we are not naturally content, but Paul is showing us that there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be times where you feel like you have things abundantly, and times where you feel really low in life. And the secret is to be seeking God in that, and when you're in the low part, he's going to strengthen you up.
All right, the next C is commitments. It seems like wherever you turn, somebody's asking for commitment. Just give me 1 hour a week so you can serve on the PTA at the school board, or at the school, or give me 1 cup of coffee, you can support a child in Africa. And they're always asking for time or money, and they rightfully, I've been in sales, and you make things sound appealing. So it's just a little bit here, a little bit here. But when you do have commitments, and you have a little bit of commitment, and a little bit of commitment, they start to add up to a lot of commitments. And so those can be burdensome, but the thing is, God doesn't want you to say, no, okay, I'm not committing to anything because it's too much. He wants us to get out in the world. He commands us to do that. So it's not about sitting back and doing nothing, but it is about making smart choices with your commitments. And one of the songs I really like is by Switchfoot. They talk about, it's called The World You Want. And if you sit at home and complain about everything, you're really not affecting any change. But what they say in that song is to go out and make the world you want. Like, how do you want it to look? How do you want it to be? Be positive, be out there, affect change, and do things good. So 5 keys to making your commitments work. The first one, I think, is if you're going to commit to something, commit 100%. You're either all in or you're not at all. Because when you commit to something, when you do something, you are representing God. Colossians 3:23-24 says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ that you are serving. So imagine, and it's easy when you're going about life, getting busy, to not think of who's watching. And in reality, everybody's watching at times, and sometimes nobody's watching, but you never really know, but God's always there. And if that's your focus, that you're serving God first, I don't know many people who would want to do a bad job for God. Anyone? No, right? You're going to want to put your best foot forward. And so that starts, before you do any commitments, commit yourself to God. For example, come to church. Good job, you guys are all on there. Read your Bible, pray, tithe. I couldn't not get that in, but make sure. And then get involved, because I know Tony says God doesn't care if you get involved or not, but he does. Like, it's good. So we need more volunteers of many things. So, but if you start there, that's your foundation, that's your base, and then your commitments will go from there. So second is prioritize. There's lots of different opportunities for you to give your time, and you need to make sure that in line with God, but also that these things have priorities. There's some things that I'm sure everybody could guess, or if you reflect, you're going to say, okay, yeah, that's probably not a great spending of time. And so make sure you prioritize and look to those things that glorify God. 1 Corinthians 10:31 says, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do all for the glory of God. Number 3 is involve your spouse. So there's nothing like committing to do things without telling her. And so usually that's how we get in trouble, right? But like for instance, I'm on the board for hockey, and I was on it for 2 years, and my time came up, and I didn't know if I was going to go back on or not. And Tawny was in full support. If she had said, you know what, I don't want you going on, I would have gladly said no, but she made it. It was a decision that I consulted her with, and she gave me the thumbs up, so I went for it. But that's when I'm spending time away from our family. If I don't have her blessing, or at least if I haven't even told her about it, then that'd be even worse. But you want to work together. And then as your kids get older, involve them too, because there is different times and different commitments that you make that will be an expectation on them. And the more collaborative you are, the better it is, because people will understand. Again, go back to priorities. This is important to our family, and this is what we do. The 4th one is communicate. So again, talking about, you missed the 3rd? Involve your family. The 4th, communicate. So let people know, especially your spouse, like I said. We have a family Google Calendar, so everything goes in there. And so we put stuff in. So it's good to know, Tawny sees my schedule, I see hers, and now that we're training the kids to do the same thing. And then you got to figure out what everybody's best mode of communication is. So Tawny will send me some stuff by email. Those things will get done, but sometimes they take a little bit longer. But if something has to get done, she'll text me. Because if she tells me, I'll forget. But if she texts me, I won't. It's there, and I see it, and where you go. And so figure out what your best mode of communication is. If it's stickies, do that. I don't know. That's old school. But whatever works, right? Because it's about trying. Because the more you communicate, the better things will be, and the less conflict you may have. Did somebody say carrier pigeon over there? Yeah. And then the last thing here is make sure you have, again, we're talking about balance, but have a balance of me, we, us, meaning our family, and them. Because if all you do is focus on yourself, obviously things will get out of whack. But if you're just focused inward too, there needs to be an outward focus, so that it's not all about you, and it helps your kids learn to be generous and to get involved, because it's not all about you. So again, the 5 things are commit, prioritize, involve, communicate, and balance.
That's good. All right, so our next C in finding balance in your life is care. So I hope you all know the Bible is there to help you, and it is a tool that you can use your entire life. It's not just for a certain time in your life. It is full of principles for living, and even better, those principles will actually benefit you. So that book has been written to benefit you, not to harm you, but to help you. And one of the by reading it and learning it and studying it, you actually can avoid a lot of problems in your life, which that's helpful, right? So in the 10 Commandments, God wrote those not to benefit him. He wrote them to benefit you, to benefit us. And I feel like one of those commandments gets dismissed very quickly. So right there alongside, do not kill, do not steal, is remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. So we are called to actually take a day of rest, that your body needs this. God has intended for us to work 6 days and rest for 1. And it, I think, is one of the quickly or easiestly, that's a really weird way of saying it, but it gets dismissed super fast. And I think that's part of the world today and that hurry culture that we were talking about earlier. So you need to dedicate one day. Doesn't matter which one. Especially if you're self-employed. Obviously, Ryan's self-employed and I work for the church, and so we often don't actually even take the same day, but we try really hard to make sure. And I guess I've been working for the church for 10 years now, and I think that is one of the things I've learned most. There's always going to be work to do, there's always emails to respond to, there's always urgency. But that is a really important thing, is to just take that one day for rest. And it's not just rest. So I'm going to tell you 3 things that I really like alliteration, in case you haven't noticed. It's like the C's, and now these 3 things are R's. So work with me here. Okay, so what you should be doing on that Sabbath day. Remember, this is one of the 10 commandments, so it's a pretty big deal. You should be resting your body. If you don't rest your body, God's going to rest it for you. And so if you keep working yourself into the ground, which it can be for good reasons. This doesn't mean that your work is bad. It just means that your body needs that break. And so you can either choose to take it, or God will find a way to force you to take it, which you don't want. But you hear about that all the time, is that people get stressed and then they have to take a leave. So we are called to actually rest. Napping is good. That's what the Bible tells us. So number 2 is you need to, it's recharge. So we have rest, recharge. You need to recharge your emotions. So that is for yourself. So you need to find quietness. You need to get out in nature. There's actually, I think there's a lot of studies and stuff, I'm not going to pretend I know, but that when you are out in nature, there's certain chemicals that are released in your body that are really good for you. So it's that piece of a hobby. It said, when I was kind of like looking different information up, it said like you shouldn't, we like to play sports, and so it said like, oh, find a sport to play, but it said not competitively, because that can like raise your stress as well. So you're supposed to be finding something that recharges your emotions, not escalates stress in your life. And the third is refocus your spirit. You worship. You get together with other people and you worship. So you have to do group worship like you guys are doing right here. That is, there's something, you hear it time and time and time again, that so many people, I think like different, being part of a church since I was a child, you'll hear people say, oh, I'm not really being fed. Or, oh, I didn't really enjoy the worship. I didn't really have, like, people will come up with tons of excuses why you should or shouldn't come to church. But every time you choose not to come to church, you're choosing not to come together and worship. And you have no idea what impact you could have on someone else or what impact they could have on you. And so I personally want to be present for those moments. And I want to be part of a church community for that reason. But you also do have to find time in your Sabbath for connecting with God on your own as well. Because God constantly is teaching us how to find rest. And so I was reading in Matthew, and Matthew 11:29 says, "Come to me and I will give you rest. All of you who work so hard beneath a heavy yoke, wear my yoke, for it fits perfectly. And let me teach you." And so when I was reading this verse, that and let me teach you, I was like, okay, so in doing those, when you are choosing to come to church and let God move through people to teach you other things, or let the speaker, maybe whatever the message is really going to move you, you're allowing God to refine you and help you grow. But you actually have to show up, right? For I am gentle and humble, and you shall find rest for your souls, for I give you only light burdens. So when you lean into God, you'll learn his ways.
And the next is calibrate. So part of calibration, a key part is trusting God and trusting his timing. He has a plan for your life, and he will make it prevalent to you, but it may come in pieces. Don't you think it would be easier to do life, though, if you did the Benjamin Button, start old, work backwards, like if you do everything that you know today, back when you were a teenager, you'd make way better decisions, get further ahead, maybe, or maybe not, who knows, we'll still make this the dumb one. But that's not how it works. God has a, can I have that?
I don't know.
Oh no, it's back. Okay, God has a plan for your life. The thing, I think God has a sense of humor, because if He really wanted to be nice, He would give us a plan, and we'd look, we'd stand in front, and we'd see the end, and we go, oh, this is how it goes, and yeah, there'll be some bumps on the road, not a big deal. But instead, He's got this map, and it's like those ones where, and I'm dating myself, but it was like you had this pen, and you slowly rub on the paper, and it would make the picture appear over time. And that's what He does. He only gives you a little bit of piece. Sometimes He'll give you a bigger piece, but it might be a left-hand turn or whatever. But He slowly gives you a map, and He does it in His time and His fashion. He has a purpose, right? He'll reveal those steps for you. But when it comes to calibration, you need to check in with Him. Can you imagine if there's a pilot who never calibrated his instruments? He would never get to where he may get to where he went, or where he wanted to go, but not, maybe not perfectly. Or a butcher who doesn't calibrate his scales, he'd be extremely inefficient, and accuracy would be lacking for sure. You need to do the same with your life. Calibrate your life and calibrate your relationships, but make sure that God's at the center of them. God says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. What's the quickest way between 2 points? A straight path, right? We tend to meander. God will give you the straight path. He says it right there. He uses our experiences in life to shape us and mold us, both individually and as families. And quite often His intentions for those experiences can take years to develop. But if we keep coming to Him and to ensure that we're in line with His intentions, He will guide us in the proper direction. When I graduated university and finally out in the real world, the job that seemed to make the most sense for me was a teacher. It was the family business. My parents were teachers, Tony's a teacher, my brother was a teacher, David Carroll a teacher. This is what we did. And I went to school because I wanted to be a hockey player. I didn't care about anything else. But that dream ended, and so now it's time to get a job. So I started teaching, and it was going pretty well. I enjoyed it until the day I walked into the school and a teacher pulled me in and said, hey, do you hear the school's bankrupt? And we all lost our jobs, and where you go? And at that point, we had Josh. Caleb was on the way, and we had a mortgage, and I had no job, and Tony was a preschool teacher at the time, which doesn't pay very much of anything. So, talk about being in the eye of a storm and not knowing what the heck God's doing. I remember feeling so stressed for one, anger, just like, what the heck is going on? But, long story short, I would still be there teaching today if that school didn't go bankrupt. But it gave me the kick out the door for teaching. I love working with kids, but I also learned maybe not that capacity. And now I'm a financial planner, and that's blessed their family and given me a different direction in my life that I wouldn't have had. And again, that's God going, hey, you're going this way, surprise, this is the way you're supposed to be going. But part of that too is learning to trust Him as you go through these experiences. And as you are going through, make sure you always include God. So it says in Ephesians 6:18 says, pray the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayer and requests. It doesn't say specific requests. It doesn't say just talk to me about the big things. It says it all. So something as small or as what you might think insignificant, God doesn't care. He wants you to come to Him. And the more, if you come to Him with the little stuff, the big stuff will be easier. And it's just about training. It's just like if you're working out, you don't go right to the 300 pounds on the bench press. You got to build up to that. So start with small things and the big, and then God will help you tackle the bigger things later.
I think that's really good. When you're saying that, I was picturing the video game, like, was it the Wii? I mean, calibrating. But it kind of is true to life, right? Because you guys don't know what's going to happen as soon as you walk out that door today. And you might have to just be sitting there going, calibrating. I think that, it struck a nerve, good one. Okay, so the last C, you with me still? Us? Okay, so it is choose love. So, do you love God? What does it look like to actually love God? So I know Ryan's my husband. I know I love Ryan. There's like, you think back, check. So there's, if Ryan has a, well no, I was going to say if you have a story to share, I really want to hear it. That's not always true.
It was when we were dating, though.
When we were dating. But no, it's the same thing. I do want to hear about what's going on in Ryan's life. I want to know if he's laughing at something. What are you laughing at? Like, you're just drawn to that person and you find you're almost positioning yourself to get to know that person, to be close to that person. You're doing all these different things. So my question for you guys is, do you do that with God? Are you actually seeking God? So it's really easy for us to understand as humans when we're in love with someone, the things that we will do. And I think dating is a good illustration. I think of some of the youth and all of the, like, wow, they are really good at positioning themselves to be around a certain person they might want to be with, right? But I'm like, this is a really good reflection point of, do you love God? Are you positioning yourself to be close to Him? It kind of really struck me because, again, I can think of my marriage and you can think of all of these things that, how easy it is to think of the big list of why I love Ryan and to visualize that, but do I do that with God? It really, it struck a nerve with me. So have you ever in your life admired how close someone is with God? Have you ever, I can think of, like, people are popping in my head like crazy where I've just, like, looked at them and I'm like, wow, how can they, like, just so quickly pop out this verse that is so applicable in this situation, or they see, like, wow, and you hear them pray, you're like, whoa, they are close with God, or just you fully see how they rely on God in all these different situations. I have admired that in many people. And I have left before thinking like, oh man, why can't I have that? But I am here to tell you, all of you can have that. It actually is on you. You just have to be seeking that. It was this conference I was at before, and the speaker shared, she's like, so many people ask me how I know the Bible so well. She's like, well, I read it all the time. So when you read something all the time, you know it very well. And all of you have that same capability. So I think that it's important for us to look for ways. So how can you love God? You need to actively be trying to know God more. So do you look for ways to spend time with Him? And this choose love is the filter that you can use when you're working on time management. So God's love was not cautious, it was extravagant. He didn't love to get something, He loved to give Himself. So when you're looking at all of these other areas, use this to help you. Use choose love to obtain balance, and use choose love as a filter. So you have to decide between two competing priorities. Always choose the most loving option. And when Ryan and I were planning this, he was like, that is way too fluffy. He was like, that just sounds like a dreamy, floaty masterpiece. But so it isn't, I think what it made me do is, I think if it sounds fluffy, it's because we don't actually know what love is. I think that the world tells us what love is. The things you will hear is love should make you feel good. I'm trying to think of other things that the world tells you. If it doesn't feel right, like then you shouldn't do it. It should be easy. If things get hard, like you can check out. And that actually isn't. I told you all before that the Bible is your tool. And when you use the Bible as a tool for your life, it's going to help you for life to go easier. I'm not saying that bad things won't happen, but it's going to give you the tools to deal with those things. So if we look at 1 Corinthians 13, let's look at what love is not. If I speak in tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. I don't really want that. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I have nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor, and give over my body to hardships that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. So I think that this, to me, describes the worldly love perfectly. Because there are so many times that you will do something good, but you're actually happy with yourself, right? Like you're patting yourself on the back and you're boasting. And it's not saying it's like that love is the part that will forgive it all. So it's like if you have love, it brings back the balance. So let's look at what love is. This is what you should be using when you're using this as a measuring tool. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. I won't read more because check my watch into that. So you can read the rest on your own. It gets even better. But that's your homework. Read the rest of chapter 13. So so that is what the filter you want to use in kind of taking all of the C's, and then this is the choose love is the final one. So how do you find balance in your life? I really feel that God is just like, there was that book, however long ago, we constantly, all our references age us, but it was when Oprah was a really big thing, and it was like, is it The Secret? Do you remember that? I feel like we have the secret right here. God is giving us the secrets to life, and I am shocked constantly how we have to keep getting hit over the head with it. It's like, you didn't calibrate it, you didn't get it again, and it's right here. How to have balance. What do you do when you're being faced with this tough stuff, which is life? So, are you content with where you are and what you have? What are you going to cut to have more time with God? Because you can't keep adding more and more and more and not expect something else to give. What day is your Sabbath? Are you actually resting your body, recharging your emotions, and refocusing your spirit? Do you trust God's timing? I promise you that is always going to be a struggle. I have met very few people who actually trust God's timing. And what is the loving thing to do here? And those are our 5 C's.
Yeah, and the common theme through all balance is God. Or Christ, that's a C word,
good
right?
job. Yeah.
C word. If you involve Him in your decisions, things will go more smoothly. They won't, like Connie said, they're not going to be perfect, but they will. If God's driving the bus, you'll get to where you need to go. We're going to pray real quick.
And then we invite the worship team to come back up.
Yes, very good. Yeah, worship. Right. Dear Lord, thanks for the opportunity to share today and for us all to be here. In this day and age, it is a bit crazy, and we have very busy schedules, Lord. I pray that you can help everyone find balance in their life, in their marriages, in their families. And Lord, may you give them direction, and may we trust in you to guide us and to lead us and to get to where we need to go. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Well, the worship team, and we have our last, set or whatever. Ryan and I will be out here if anybody would like to come and pray with us during that time. But thank you for listening to us, and let's worship God together.